All right, let's talk more Texans as we inch closer. The clock is ticking down to the start of training camp. Ari and I joined by two guys that, hey, we run into all the time there at NRG in the Methodist Training Center. Our insider, Aaron Wilson from ClickHouston.com, and Brian Sarge, Barefield, Texans Wire, USA Today. Man, you guys are looking sharp tonight. Like the looks here.
I don't know if I can beat out Sarge, though. I mean, this is a great ensemble.
Hey, I figured I was going to be able to walk the red carpet for the Barbie movie.
There you go. There you go.
Had to dress the part.
Hey, guys, Wednesday, it all goes down for the Texans. 9 a.m. Training camp starts. But before we get into the quarterback question, which you know is going to come up, DeMeco Ryans and what he's been able to do, just changing the culture from the day he arrived. How big has that been? And it's obvious talking to guys, they're buying in.
There's a different buzz definitely when you're going into training camp. There is a level of excitement. I think fans know that there's a cap on this team talent-wise and know that you're not really going after a playoff run. So many good things would have to happen for that to happen. But I still think they're just excited for knowing that this is the start of something that maybe long-term will turn into something great.
Yeah, I look at it as, the last two training camps with, Coach Culley, former head coach of the Houston Texans, and Lovie Smith. It was a different type of energy going into those two. It just didn't seem the level that it is now. DeMeco Ryans has re-energized this franchise and has brought back a lot of energy, not only to the fan base, but he's re-energized a lot of those players. And I think it's because he is a former player, and they have seen the proof of what he did when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. So there's a lot of energy going into training camp.
Aaron, looks like he could still play. I mean, if he wants to put the pads on, I think he can knock some people around, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that speaks to the credibility that you guys were referring to. When you think about how authentic he is, how he relates to players, there's nothing that he's asking them to do that he hasn't done himself. And that buy-in that you have with a guy that's a Pro Bowl linebacker that was arguably better than all of these guys, with maybe the exception of a Laramie, I think it just lends itself to the excitement that we're talking about.
All right, so the number one question is going to be every single day at training camp, hey, Coach, who's your quarterback? Who's the QB1 out there? C.J. Stroud. It's just a matter of when this is going to go down. Let's start with everybody kind of weigh in. I don't want him to wait till the end of this camp. I want him to make the decision, and if it's C.J. Stroud early, give him the snaps early and get him on track. What do you think?
I mean, that is the decision. There is no world where you draft a guy second overall. He obviously didn't go out and look like a disaster in minicamp, and then you name Davis Mills quarterback. There's no point to it. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to screw around and make us
drag it out.
Yeah, of course they are. But I think when we go into week one, it's going to be C.J. Stroud. There's no point to wait, but I feel like they're going to.
You don't take a guy that high in the draft not to start him day one. And with the way that the players not only bought into what we talked about with DeMeco Ryans, but they're also buying into C.J. Stroud because they've seen the proof of him being on the field when he was at Ohio State. They know that he's a proven winner, and he just has that leadership quality about him. So you want to get him the first team reps early so the team will know which direction they're going.
Yeah, do you guys think he did enough during OTAs and minicamp? I know the veterans stepped up a few hints here and there that he was getting the job done.
Right, I thought he was very accurate. The biggest thing that they want to see is him check that box, continuing what you see in practice, those encouraging signs, in an actual preseason game. And I think that they will orchestrate it that way, where you see the splitting of the reps, but everyone anticipating waiting until he actually has the QB1 status. I do expect him to earn that before the Ravens game.
What takes the pressure off when you look at here we have a rookie coming in trying to run an NFL offense? Does this start, do you point to the O-line? Do you point more importantly to the running game, maybe to take some pressure off of Stroud, and therefore you need Pierce, you need Devin Singletary to come in and really ease the load a little bit off of C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, I mean, that would help. And I think the tight end takes the pressure off. I think that's a storyline that we're not talking about enough, that from a fantasy standpoint specifically, that's going to be huge.
Big signing with Schultz.
They did, yeah. Dalton Schultz is a good player. We get bombarded with Cowboys games on TV all the time. Not necessarily a good or bad thing. They're just always on. Yeah. And so you see their players all the time. And Dalton Schultz has been good for years. So I think he's a guy that if C.J. Stroud's looking for a check down, Devin Singletary's not the biggest receiving back. Neither is Dameon Pierce. I think Dalton Schultz will be there for him a lot.
I think that he's coming into a good situation where he has a good offensive line, a second-year running back in Dameon Pierce who's going to take that next step. But I believe that the chemistry that he's going to develop with Nico Collins. We haven't seen a lot of Nico because of the injuries, but a big wide receiver like that has the catch radius that he has, I think that him and CJ and Nico will be on the same page very, very early.
Yep, and he's also been building a lot of chemistry and a friendship with Tank Dell from UH, who will also be a story in this camp. And they were recently in Los Angeles working together, putting in that extra time. I think those moments, those weeks, those days, all of that spells chemistry and some timing.
Do you look at this receiving core, like who going into camp, who is the number one receiver?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I think it's a big concern right now for this football team. I don't believe necessarily Robert Woods is a number one guy on any offense. He's going to need to make some plays, but he's coming off a down year. But can Tank Dell make some noise? Schultz, we think, is going to get a lot of looks as well.
Yeah, and I also believe that what we're going to see is by the middle of the season, towards maybe the middle of the season, we'll see Xavier Hutchinson get a lot more playing time because he is a wide receiver who, you know, a lot of these guys also have chips on their shoulders because they feel like, you know, they've been the laughing stock of the NFL for a very long time. So a lot of these guys want to step up. But Xavier Hutchinson, when you look at him and the production that he had when he was in college, he feels like he should have been, you know, drafted a little bit higher. So I think that he has a lot to prove, and every time he steps on the field, he's going to prove that he belongs in the NFL.
My money is on Nico Collins as the number one wide receiver. I think he's got every physical tool. It's just all about availability, and Nico said it himself. I've got to be on the field to earn that status for him to be the guy that gets the most targets. Interesting comment from Ben McDaniels, though. Ben thinks it's going to be a collective, and there's not going to be that one DeAndre Hopkins style. I agree with Ben. It'll probably be a collection, you know, where they're throwing to a lot of guys. But to me, Nico, he'll get it the most other than Dalton Schultz.
Is that a nice way of saying that you don't have a number one receiver? That's what it sounds like to me.
It's a very polite way of saying it.
Yeah, it's a polite way of saying none of these guys are standing out. They're all okay. And that is not a situation you want to put a rookie quarterback in where you have a bunch of guys who are fine. And that's why I'm so high on Dalton Schultz, because none of the receivers are stepping up and taking a main role. I think there's going to be so much checking down in the first 4 or 5 weeks.
If you're an opposing defense, you're looking across, who scares you?
No one.
Nobody does.
No one.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think Schultz is going to be definitely a top target.
And especially when you have a rookie quarterback. So to me, a tight end is a rookie quarterback and a backup's quarterback best friend.
Absolutely.
Because they're always going to be open, or they're always going to be within that 5 to 7 yard range where you could just dump the ball down and don't have to make those decisions downfield. So I definitely agree with you with Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
All right, couple of quick questions on the defense now. Can this pass rush improve? Middle of the pack a year ago. They've got some pieces now. You added Will Anderson. Is that going to be an improved area? Can it be
Absolutely.
a top 10 unit?
I don't know about top 10. I think let's get to, you know, maybe
the middle of the pack last year.
They were the worst run defense, though. But as far as the pass rush, I could see that growing, and especially because of the presence of Will Anderson Jr. This guy's relentless coming off the edge. He's got a nice repertoire of pass rushing moves. And I think Defensive Rookie of the Year, this is one of the strongest candidates.
Well, I'll look at it like this, and this is not going to be a popular opinion when it comes to the Houston Texans fan base. I don't see Will Anderson Jr. starting the first game. And I would not start him the first game only because he's going to be going up against a lot of offensive linemen who have been in the game for a very long time. And he's going to look at, I don't want to deviate, but we look at what Kenyon Green went through his rookie year going up against those veteran defensive linemen like that and struggling a little bit because he is a rookie. And so Will Anderson, I think that they're going to have to give him time to get acclimated to playing against those different offensive linemen and being chipped out of the backfield, because with the way that he was drafted, as high as he was drafted, he's a target. And so if I'm the Houston Texans, I'm looking at Jerry Hughes, Jonathan Grenard. I feel like Jonathan Grenard is going to have a breakout year.
Who's going to have the biggest impact on Stingley, you think?
I think Derek Stingley, other than, you know, the Jalen Petrie. We expect him to play well, but Derek Stingley, he'll make a quantum leap in improvement this year.
Got to stay on the field.
His dad said it very well, told me, this is the best offseason he's had since he was heading into LSU, when he was truly healthy, and that's when he was a consensus All-American. That's when really he earned that first-round status that he has now. You think about Stingley and where he could go, I mean, really, there's no ceiling on his potential. He has that much talent.
Yeah. Secondary group, I think, could be really good. The O-line and the secondary group are two units around the NFL that the Texans can compete with a lot of different teams. Jimmy Ward's a good player. Desmond King's a good slot corner. Steven Nelson's a good player. Stingley, if he's on the field, has the ability to be a very good player. Petrie obviously flashed last year and should take a big step. Pro Bowl level, he stops missing some of these tackles, really a Pro Bowl level player. They have a good unit there if Stingley makes the leap. If he doesn't, we're looking, I think, similar to what we saw last year.
Hey, good to talk Texans, guys. We're close. It's been a crazy offseason and training camp will get going bright and early on Wednesday morning. He's Aaron Wilson, our insider for click2houston.com. Brian Big Sarge Barefield from USA Today and Texans Wire. Guys, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.